Africa is all about storytelling. We tell stories to heal. We tell stories to connect. We tell stories to build. And our closing keynote is building a premium African brand through storytelling. So we gather here not just to hear ideas, but to feel the pulse of Africa through story, memory, and vision. It is my profound honor to introduce David Coleman, a master of storytelling and a guide in the art of building brands that carry the soul of continent. He reminds us that a brand is more than a commerce. It is ancestral voice made visible, culture made tangible, and legacy made living. David has spent years helping African brands awaken their stories, honor their roots, and speak to the world with authenticity, pride, and purpose. Today, he'll show us or tell us how narrative can transform not just business, but communities, perceptions, and hearts. So he's going to be touching our hearts. Please open your heart before he touches it. And join me in welcoming a visionary who carries Africa's stories forward. Welcome, David Coleman.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Josephine. I am honored to be here. And so I'm more of a writer than I am a speaker. And I have so many ideas to share that I'm just gonna read to you so that we can stay within the time. So here we go. I know what you're thinking. Who is this guy? I'm honored to be here, truly. But I was a little surprised myself when I got the invitation because I'm not a wellness practitioner, let alone a wellness expert. But I think I was invited because I have uh, a perspective you might find valuable, even though it might be a little bit unsettling. You see, I've been on a journey, one that's led me to uncover the lies Africans have been told for so long. Lies we've passed on to each other until we started believing they were our reality. And my goal today is to take your industry's biggest lies and make them true in Africa. But before I explain how, let me tell you why I believe I'm qualified to suggest something so dramatic. I started my career in advertising, where I became scarily good at manipulation. At the highest level, advertising is just manipulative persuasion and distraction. Remember that phrase because it's at the root of what I want to challenge today. From there, I moved on to marketing, the art of getting people to buy. After after a stretch of unemployment, I somehow snuck my way into a chief marketing officer role at one of Africa's tech giants. When I joined the company, they were doing $8 million a year. When I left the company 2 years later, it was doing $48 million a year. I'm sharing this not to impress you, but to make one thing clear. I have an intimate understanding of the psychology of persuasion. It can be a dark science of subliminal control because persuasion in its most extreme form becomes concentrated mass hypnosis. You feed the machine while it depletes you. It's a race you can't win because because in that game the winner is always the biggest loser. The winner is often the biggest cheat and the one who gets to get away with the biggest lies. Capitalism introduced a third meal in the day to make us better factory workers. Then created synthetic food that makes us sick. Then created medicine to heal us that we become dependent on. Capitalism has only one ultimate goal. It is never said out loud, but once you hear it, you will know it's true. The ultimate goal of capitalism is to make money God. Yes, you can make unimaginable wealth that way, but it always comes at a cost. Your conscience, your soul, your society. No exceptions, always. When manipulative persuasion and distraction become your method, and making uh, money your god, you eventually see capitalism for what it really is. What Professor Jang calls the perfection of slavery. Because when the system perfects control, it no longer needs chains, it just needs your consent. Calling capitalism the perfection of slavery is not just a warning, it's also an invitation to see that in a world where almost everything is for sale, freedom and truth have become the rarest currencies. But freedom is not the act of escaping alone. It is the courage to change together, to break the spell, not by running from the system, but by building a new one that serves our soul. And the truth is not just perspective. It's not just perception. It's intent. It's not what you say, it's why you say it. It's not how you sell, it's what you stand for while selling. That's why what we're building here today isn't a rebellion, it's a redefinition. It's the birth of a different economy, one powered not by manipulation, but by meaning. But there is another way, a way to win without competing, a way to rise without imitating. That way is to opt out, to stop playing someone else's game, at least here on this continent, in our Africa. The path forward is to create a new game entirely, with new rules, new incentives, and a new kind of victory. That's what we're going to talk about today. How African wellness can redefine wellness so radically that it won't even be called wellness anymore. By the end of this talk, I hope to offer you a new identity and a new roadmap, not just as separate businesses chasing trends, but as a community, a network, an ecosystem. Because when we move as one, we don't just participate in industries, we redefine them, not for more, but for better. I hope you're ready. Okay, let's get into it. The global wellness industry runs on illusion. It sells purity, but it's often just performance. It preaches natural, but processes everything: the product, the people, the promise. Behind the soothing packages and the calm voices are synthetic ingredients, aggregated claims, and cultural appropriation. Labels whisper organic, while margins scream exploitation. Staff are underpaid, treatments are upsold, bodies are objectified. Is it even really self-care, or is it just self-serving? If Black wellness follows that model, it becomes a cloned pick-me offering, and nothing premium ever begins with imitation. We have to flip it. We have the opportunity to move from desperate pick-me to a deliberate center us and restore us, to design a model that feels completely different, not out of rebellion, but out of remembrance. Because what I'm describing has been done before. And the best example isn't from the West, it's actually from the East. We all know it as martial arts. Martial arts is not about self-defense, and martial arts is not about sports. It's about discipline, endurance, and philosophy. Every movement, every posture, every ritual carries the DNA of Asian heritage. You don't just learn to fight, you learn humility, focus, resistance. You don't just train your body, you train your spirit to bow before the mat, before the master, before the moment itself. That's why martial arts is revered, not because it makes you fit, but because it makes you centered. It gives you something wellness apps and supplements can't. It gives you identity. And it's not for everyone. If you just want to look strong and intimidating, you can go and lift weights. If you want to fight, you can learn how to box. But if you want to embody power, you train like a monk and you move like a poet. That's the kind of differentiation Africa needs. That's how we reclaim meaning. Our version cannot be called wellness. That word feels passive, like the avoidance of illness. It sounds like okayness, not wholeness. What we need is to elevate a new frame, something African owned, African rooted, African endowed, where every practice, every ritual, every rhythm carries our moral code, our communal values, our sense of renewal and togetherness. We may not be the drivers of today's technological advancements, but perhaps we can be the guardians of its counterbalance, the home of the yin to technology's yang, the antidote to the screen led life, slowness, rootedness, naturalness. While the world is sprinting, we can be the sanctuary that restores. While others build with silicon, we can build with soul. Africa's wellness can be our martial arts moment, not a copy, but a contradiction. And our contribution. We don't need to compete with Silicon Valley's biohacking or Europe's spa culture. We don't need to sit on their laps to be seen. We simply need to stand in our own rhythm and invite the world to align to us. To command attention, we must tell better stories, stories that elevate wellness from not getting sick to living fully African. Stories that turn routine into ritual and ritual into reverence. Because in the end, the most powerful thing Africa can export isn't products, it's our philosophy, a way of being whole, a harmony, and a rhythm with life itself. So, how do we reframe health? The answer might be to redirect towards wholeness. Africa must name and narrate something bigger, a philosophy of quality of life that transcends the pursuit of wellness as a product and returns it to its rightful place as a way of being. Not a New Year's resolution, but a commitment to balance, not a promise of perfection, but a pursuit of happiness and harmony. Not a hack, but a philosophy to life. And not about more, but about being more. Not about doing more, but about being more. It must feel exclusive yet inclusive. Exclusive in the discipline it demands, because not everyone will embrace it, but inclusive in the connectedness it represents. No one heals alone. We don't need to sell more workouts. We need to build more teamwork between body and spirit, between self and community. We don't need to sell wellness. We need to cultivate something deeper. Let's call that something harmony rituals. Because the West gave us modern medicine, Asia gave us martial arts, and Africa can give the world harmony rituals, a philosophy that brings us back to nature, ritual, and collective balance. Imagine retelling the stories of our ancestors of once lived back in the times, but this time with pride. Stories of those who walked barefoot on the earth, not from lack, but from wisdom, who fasted not to lose weight, but to awaken the body's natural healing, who gathered beneath trees, not for leisure, but for renewal of the soul. These are not retro stories, they are return to ancient intelligence. The world measures wellness by steps and seconds. Africa can measure it by rhythm, flow, and connectedness. The world doesn't need another gym. It needs Africa's counterbalance, the break to technology's accelerator. That's what harmony rituals represents: continuity, music, rituals, cycles, and daily acts of vitality. To own it, we must anchor it in language because language gives legacy. Tula, a Zulu word meaning peace, calm, harmony, could be that word. Tula is not a brand name. We can, we can make it a cultural blueprint. It's how we reframe Africa's wellness from a lifestyle trend into a living philosophy of balance and interdependence. A heritage that, that nourishes body, spirit, and community. It's Africa's timeless contribution to humanity's search for wholeness. While the world celebrates cloud-piercing skyscrapers, our Tula can celebrate nourished forests, living systems that breathe, replenish, and outlast any tower. Because what grows slowly lasts, and what is rooted rises. If we protect it, name it, and practice it together, harmony rituals will be our gift to the world and a mirror to ourselves. Tula can become the category defining name for premium African wellness. Martial arts for the body and soul, distinct, disciplined, and inseparable from Africa's heritage. But let's be honest, beautiful words alone can evaporate. This reframe will only hold if we protect it together. If African practitioners, storytellers, healers, and creators all draw water from the same well and tell one shared story with consistency, clarity, and conviction. Yes, that might mean it won't feel suited to everyone at first, and that's okay. Premium always begins with discomfort. It's not for the masses, it's for the devoted. But consistency creates conviction, and conviction creates culture. Let's stop waiting for permission to be premium. Let's build standards so high that the world has no choice but to rise to meet us. If we want the world to take African wellness seriously, we must take it seriously first. We must standardize excellence, protect integrity, and hold each other accountable. Because once we move as one, with one name, one rhythm, one philosophy, Africa won't just join the global wellness conversation, she will lead it. Our strategy has never, our strength has never been speed. It's been sync. In the drumbeat, in the drumbeat that calls the the community together. That same rhythm can become our brand. When we act in harmony, we turn individual efforts into collective power. That's how Tula becomes more than a word. It becomes a world standard. We must play the long game. Become because the moment we rush to beat them at their game, we lose. When we try to sell anything to anyone at any price, we drain the value out of what we are building. Competing on price is a race to the bottom, but defining a category is a climb to the top. So let harmony rituals, Tula, become our umbrella, a single name, a shared philosophy that we own together. If we do this together, if we nurture Tula, if we live and teach harmony rituals with integrity, Africa might just become the place the world comes to remember what it means to be whole. That is how Africa stops imitating wellness trends and starts originating humanity's next path to wholeness. Not as a product, not as a movement, but as a category. Thank you. So I'm open to listen to hear any questions that anybody
That
might have.
was really, really amazing. It's a time for Africa to start drawing from the one source of well We don't have to really have so many worlds that we're drawing. We need to come to one source. Wow, that was rich.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask the all guests. Anyone with a question, please feel free to throw it in. David is more than welcome to answer your question. In the meantime, I've seen amazing remarks from Corey back with great work, brother. From Anna, as a brand marketer myself, I'm absolutely loving these insights. That was truly beautiful. Let's stop waiting for permission. Love that from Mulanga. Yes, wholeness from Garam. So let me hear from you. Let me hear from the audience. Let's engage. Let's have this chat. Let's have this conversation. But as we have it, what do you feel about Africa, David? Do you feel that we had a panel before that was moderated by Kent, and the question was, is Africa ready? From where you stand, do you think Africa is ready?
I think the question is always asked in comparison. Ready in what sense? Ready, we ask the question, are we ready? Because it seems like we are comparing ourselves to something, to someone, right?
Is she
Because
ready to remember?
we have, everybody knows that civilization, mankind started in Africa. Africa held this planet in balance for over 300,000 years. If you know, depending on how religious you are, but for all of uh, uh, mankind's history, we held that balance. So to ask the people who held the balance of the planet for 300,000 years if they are ready to be a part of its wellness is almost insulting. It's
So I think the
almost,
question we should be asking then is, are we
yeah.
ready to reclaim our definition of wellness?
Thank you. And that is a really important question, because we the answer to that, for me, there's a few things there. We have left behind a lot of the things that we believed in about ourselves. We have we lived in small communities, and we depended heavily on each other. And because of a history that we all know and we don't have to get into, we have learned to become very individualistic. But that communal nature is still very much at our grassroots, in our villages. We have to rediscover who we were. We have Those stories exist within us. We have so much that we are not tapping into. We and we need to believe and remember the values that we were brought up with. We now kind of reject them, we they're old fashioned, they're colonial, they're this, they're that. But the world is discovering is turning away from the way that it operates, the way that is making it sick, the way that it is making it depressed, the ways that are making it obese. And they are actually discovering the way that we used to live, while we run towards the way that they are living. So we need to rediscover that we have always been at the center. The world is just rediscovering how to be what we have always been. And there's immense power in that. I hope that makes sense.
There's a comment from Robin Turner, African being an innovator. And then from Kent Richards, an international market for harmony rituals will take enough dollars to create. It's cheaper to join the wellness demand, but I do get the point made.
And this, you
Then,
see, can I address that?
yes.
We 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 sometimes forget that it takes sacrifice. We cannot complain that we are not part of a system that we did not create, and that we are constantly trying to be a part of, and then complain that we are not an equal partner. We didn't create wellness. The in the Western sense of the word. And if somebody creates something, they're gonna prioritize themselves. And if we want to continue, if we're comfortable with always um, asking for permission, always trying to compete, and we're competing with somebody who is playing a game on their terms. The world wants natural. The world wants ingredients that have not been messed with, that have not been sprayed with insecticide. That is what we have. That's what we eat every day. Do you understand? But we are trying to please people who want mass-produced, highly processed things. It's not, we don't have, they've spent centuries building the systems that allow them to win in their game. And we think that we can catch up. It doesn't, it we have to play our own game. We have to decide the rules that we want to play by. And yes, that might mean that we won't make as much money now, but China, Japan, Russia, every community had to sacrifice. They had to decide, what do we want to be excellent at? And accept the fact that there is going to be a time of struggle to become that thing. And I think we're not comfortable with the struggle. We never want to give up anything to gain more later. And that will always hold us back, because everybody gave up something. Europe also gave up several, Europe and the Western world gave up a lot to build what they have. And every single culture will have to do that if they want to have a place. Until you sacrifice, you will never be an equal, period.
Perfect. So, Anna says exactly. That's why I love the title of the summit, The Cradle of Wellness Remembered. Not invented, not reinvented even, but reclaimed loudly and proudly. Tana says, reclaim our birthright with unabashed pride. We have to decolonize our minds. Amazing. So I'm loving the discussions that everybody is getting engaged. What is the one word that you would leave us with?
One word is a one word is a That's a really tall
Okay, what
order.
is the
But that's
one
fair.
sentence
That's
that you
fair.
leave
No, but
us
I
with?
no, I accept the challenge. I accept the challenge. I accept the challenge.
Okay, go for the one word.
Yes, I'm gonna accept the challenge, because there's a post, a particularly simple post that I shared that has kind of become, and has helped me to reframe the way I think. And that word and that post was about being primitive. We have we have a lot of shame around the idea that we are considered primitive. We have this idea that being primitive means that you're behind. It means that you don't know about modern things. You don't know how to be professional. But I honestly believe that we need to embrace who we are. That's primitive. The source of that word is prime. That means first. It means it has so much more meaning. And once we start to embrace that we are Black, and we have primitive systems, and those primitive systems were in balance. We created balance with the planet. We created balance with each other. We do not even have, most African countries don't even have a word for depression. There are words that were so obscure, that it's states of mental states that were so obscure in our culture that we didn't even bother to create words for them, because because we had each other. And that's what people call primitive. And when we start to reprogram our minds to realize that the things that we've been accused of being are actually our strengths, we will be unstoppable.
Perfect. Thank you very much, David Coleman, for joining us. Thank
You're
you for
very
sharing
welcome.
your wisdom. And thank you for telling us, yes, we just need to remember.
Yeah.